One to Straight Talk for tonight's online community forum. It's so good to be here and to welcome everyone. I'm Pam Duncan, and I am the president and the CEO of Metropolitan Development Council. And we are joined, as always, by Amanda Westbrook, who serves as the facilitator for our weekly conversations. Amanda?
Thank you, Ms. Pam. Well, tonight's conversation is the 39th in a series of discussions started last year. Exactly, Pam. We hold weekly discussions around important topics impacting our communities in Tacoma and Pierce County.
And we are doing something actually a little different tonight. Beginning tonight, we will start a series of periodic conversations about the services that MDC provides in Tacoma and Pierce County, kicking off with a discussion tonight about energy assistance, rental assistance, and weatherization services that MDC offers to qualifying residents who live inside the Tacoma city limits. As we always like to remind everyone, the most important message throughout this series of conversations is that there is hope for our community. Miss Amanda.
Indeed, there is, Pam. We would like to take a moment to acknowledge that this meeting is being conducted on the indigenous lands of the Puyallup people. We gratefully acknowledge that we rest on the traditional lands of the Puyallup people, where they make their home and speak the Lushootseed language. Throughout tonight's conversation, you can submit questions to be addressed by our speakers using the Q&A function in Zoom. We cannot promise that we'll have time to consider every question, but we will make our best effort to get through the list in the allotted time. Now, I would like to introduce our guest for tonight's discussion. Renee White is the manager of MDC's Energy Assistance Program. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure to have you. Thanks for making time in your long Monday for this. And Michael Linarez is the manager of MDC's Weatherization Program. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
It's great to have you here. And that backdrop is making all of us look really bad, Michael. Well, let's get started like we do every week with a check of how everyone is doing in their heart today. And I can also phrase it a different way in the sense of what feelings are you processing today? And I'll let you jump in as the spirit moves you.
I think I feel fortunate that we're going to be able to showcase MDC's programs, to be able to reach out and let people know all of the services that we do provide. Like myself, I am the manager of the Weatherization program, but I'm still a representative of MDC, and to be able to help the clients and reach out and let them know all the programs we do provide, so that way they can receive full services and not just one thing. So I'm glad we're here. I'm glad it's live, and I appreciate that that I was invited and be a part of the first step of this process. So it feels good.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And I second that. I think this is a long time coming. There's quite a bit of need out there, and our services are essential. And it's just one extra opportunity to be able to share what we offer, and to be able to hear from both Michael and myself. I think that speaks volumes. So thank you again for having us.
Our pleasure. Thank you again.
I guess that leaves me. I'm excited. Because it's really been a journey with Straight Talk to talk about issues initially that specifically pertain to the pandemic. And then we kind of did a pivot and began talking a lot about social and racial justice. And it's about time that we talk about the things that MDC does, the services that we provide, because that's why we are here. That's the initial reason that we're here, to serve the community. So my emotion that I am processing is one of joy, because this is my internal family who's present.
I represent that.
You do.
I'm going to ask our amazing Director of Advocacy and Communications to weigh in on how he is feeling today, Mr. Rob.
Well, like so many of my colleagues on this call, I am excited to have us all here this evening, and to I'm hopeful that this will be an opportunity for a few more people who maybe didn't know what we do in these two service areas can learn how to connect to MDC's services and get help that they really need.
Well said, Rob. So the context for our discussion tonight is to help, as Pam and Rob said, and all of you said, the community members understand what resources are available to them and how these services are provided while we make transition through the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So Renee, I'm going to start with you first. And Renee, I'm going to kind of guide you in this mindset just for a second here. I want you to answer this question like you are speaking to somebody who is brand new to Tacoma, has just landed here and is in deep need right now, and doesn't have much of a support system. So what can you say about energy assistance that we offer to Tacoma residents? And how do you describe this service in conversations with community members?
Wow, that's a great question, Amanda. I would say energy assistance is highly essential. It began with people just not able to heat their homes. People were actually dying, the elderly, children, and it's really uncalled for. And so light heat is essential for many reasons. There's been proven studies that there's a direct correlation. When you're warm, you're able to function, you're able to, improve your health. So there's a lot of different ways that energy assistance is definitely vital to folks. And so with our program, it's unique in a sense that we are servicing within the city of Tacoma primarily for energy assistance. Anyone outside of that primary city of Tacoma limits is Pierce County, our big brothers, we like to call them. However, we offer services in a wide variety for both energy and rent that I'm sure that you'll get to as well. But again, it's highly crucial that people are able to keep their homes warm in these dire needs. And especially with, if any of you saw a little bit of snow flurries today, our weather can be a little erratic. So.
Yeah, nothing says happy week of spring like snow flurry in Tacoma, Washington. Renee, I want to ask a point of clarification. When you say energy, can you describe to our audience what that definition is? Is it water, sewer, garbage? Is it heat? Is it light? What is it, my dear?
No, that's great. Great. Thank you. I myself, in the very beginning, when I came to MDC, I thought, what is energy? Actually, energy is utility. And so when we talk of utility, most people think that it's water, the sewer, the garbage. We're speaking specifically for the heat portion of your utility bill. And so with that, there is this thing called wattage, usage. We look at all of the variables, how many people are in the home. We look at income. We look at just pretty much everything to be able to calculate what a determined pledge would be for the usage of the home for the heat primarily.
That makes total sense. Thank you for that. So Renee, how have you had to adjust the way we take applications and work with qualified households during this pandemic? Because certainly people cannot come into MDC and sit across the desk from your lovely presence. And some people also don't have access to a computer. So how do you do it?
Oh my goodness. That was a major question about this time last year, Miss Pam. What do we do? We have went from a completely live operation to completely remote. Some other agencies have done a little bit of this remote thing, so they've had a little bit of a head start. We did not. So we did a lot of brainstorming in the very beginning because, again, we wanted to deliver essential services timely. So what we're doing differently now is we're accepting applications by really any means necessary. So if it's over the internet, email, if they can mail it in, great. If they can send a picture of even their documents that we require for our state, then that's also acceptable. So instead of doing more of the live appointments, we're scheduling phone appointments for anyone that needs to actually speak with us. We go over intake through the phone from the very beginning to the end. And then that way we can go ahead and determine a pledge. So there's been I would say almost a 360 in the way we do things. However, our customer service part of it has not. That's remained the same. So we want to make sure that we're giving that message to everyone that just because we're not in direct contact or reach, we definitely can be reached by phone or email or mail.
And it doesn't mean the program's not going if I'm not looking.
No, we're ramping up.
So who does MDC serve?
Yeah, so energy assistance, specifically with LIHEAP and PSE, that's within the city of Tacoma limits. We do have other contracts that allow for, we haven't gotten to it yet, but namely rental. I'm a little excited about that because that's a really huge need right now. That allows us to offer services outside of city of Tacoma limits. And so we're able to expand our services there.
Wow. Okay. Yes. And we are going to get to that later on in the hour. So this seems like a question I'm going to know the answer to, but I might be surprised by this. Have you seen an increase in the needs for this service this past year?
Absolutely. We've almost doubled our services. Outreach has been one thing that we have really relied upon, especially this time of year when LIHEAP is usually downward trending. This time, because of COVID, that has worked for us in a sense. It's been our own outreach. We have met with people that have never even knew what LIHEAP stood for. They never applied for services. And so a lot of those reasons, basically everyone has been impacted by COVID at some point, whether it's financial, health, you name it, everyone has been somehow impacted. And so that's really led more people to seek services that they might not have done before. And so it's been definitely a new avenue for us to be able to, introduce people to our program and also hopefully, get the word of mouth spread out there. And it's worked quite well. We are tremendously busy.
I bet you are. I bet you are. So, Renee, you get to rest for a bit while I tap the Michael. Of course, you can jump in anytime as well. Michael, let's talk about how you would describe the weatherization service and what it can offer households in Tacoma.
The weatherization program allows MDC to have contractors install energy efficient measures for qualified low-income families living in the city of Tacoma. These measures actually increase the home's energy efficiency, which helps lower their energy usage, reduces their energy bills, and decrease the needs for assistance with the utility costs. It also creates a healthy environment by pulling moisture and pollutions out of the home. With energy assistance, they help with their bills at that time. With weatherizations, we're able to go in and make changes to the home that will help reduce it. So the need for them to use energy assistance the next year won't be as traumatic. But like anybody, they still need help. but at least it helps resolve some of the issues.
Michael, can you give us an example of weatherization, what it looks like? Is it a new stove? Is it a new washer and dryer? Is it insulation? Is it brand new windows because they're living in a 300-year-old home?
Yeah, so what the weatherization, we concentrate on the insulation values, whether it's floor, wall, attics, sometimes duct insulation. We look at any smaller holes that are in the house that allows air to come in and warm air to leave. We seal those up. We depressurize the house. We do a test to see how much leakage it actually has. And then it helps us determine where we can best put those efforts towards. Everything that we do during the assessment of the home, our auditor goes back and puts everything in a computer analysis, and it basically tells us what measures we are able to provide for them, because it has to have a savings to investment ratio. We're not able to, because it's federal and state funds, so we're not able to just put a lot of money into a house just because. It's got to show some a savings. So windows are very low on the list because it takes 15 to 20 years to show any type of savings, so it's not cost effective. But the measures that we do, we end up balancing the house out, which once we're done, most people think, oh, I don't need windows. Everything you've done, we test the all gas appliances to make sure they're not putting carbon monoxide in the home. So each house we do install carbon monoxide detectors. If they don't have smoke detectors, we'll install them. And there's a whole house ventilation fan that we put in. And what that does is it continuously runs for 24 hours, and it slowly pulls air out of the house and allows natural air to flow in. And then when they go to turn it on, it boosts up to a higher rating. Some people are concerned about that. I have a fan running 24 hours a day, but studies have showed the fans that we use only raises it's costing the homeowner $7 a year. So that's 75 cents a month. And what that fan does is pull moisture out of the home. So your windows aren't going to have the mildew moisture anymore, pulls out the pollutants. And we have a Healthy Homes grant that allows us to do a little bit more. And studies have shown that people with asthma aren't going to the doctor anymore. They're not having as many episodes because now you have fresh air in the house, because not everybody opens their windows and allows air to circulate. So we go in to take out the guesswork for them. And so not only does their home become more efficient, it's becoming a healthier environment.
Absolutely. So quick question. First off, thank you to Rob for bringing up the flyer. And also in the chat, we are showing some websites for MDC where you can access these wonderful programs. And again, thank you to Rob for that. So Pam brought up a really good question, and that was, how do you depressurize a house?
So we have this thing that's called we do a blower door test. It's a device we hook up to an exterior door, whether it's a front or a rear door, and it has a fan inside in the middle of it. It pulls the air from inside the home out, and then there's we call a manometer, and it tells us the reading. So we take the fan pressure up to 50 CFMs, which is cubic feet per minute, and then it reads how many pascals of air leakage there is. And a pascal it's less than 1 foot-pound of pressure. It's nothing that is going to disturb anybody within the home, animals. But then from there, we take that initial test, have that number. When the contractors go out and perform all the work, they take the final test, or we do another one at the final inspection, and then they determine how much savings we reduced it, how much air leakage we reduced from the beginning. So that's how we depressurize the house.
That makes sense. And of course, air circulation, as Rob said, is a big thing to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Yes.
So there's a bigger method to the madness here.
Yes.
Also wanted to also find out, when we talk about weatherization, can an apartment renter get their unit weatherized, or can a person renting a house get it weatherized?
Yeah, so we owner occupied and renters can apply for the program. When it comes to apartment complexes, it gets a little bit trickier because we have to qualify 65% of the residents.
Oh.
So if it's 100 apartments in the building, a minimum of 65 have to qualify. If we get 65 qualified, then we're able to do the whole building. And then when it comes to apartments, we do ask for owners' assistance. So some type of contribution. Doesn't have to be monetary. They can put a brand new roof on the building, and then we can come in and do weatherization, because them fixing a leaky roof protects the insulation that we install. Or they can put windows in and we come in and do the other thing. So it's them having the ability to do an upgrade themselves while we perform an upgrade. When it comes to single family homes, or should I say the duplex, one person can qualify, we can do the both units. When it comes to a triplex or a fourplex, two of the residents have to qualify, then we can do the whole building.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael, how have you had to change how you provide services during this last year? Just like Renee had to kind of pivot, what have you had to do?
I think we were heading in the direction of going all electronic. There was one agency who had a misfortune where their agency caught fire and they lost all the documents. Luckily, they had stuff backed up on the server. So about 2 years ago, that's what happened. And they were suggesting everybody, please, try to go electronic, get things on the server, because you can lose documents. So we were slowly getting that way. When COVID happened and things shut down, we were on our way to going all electronic. Yes, we still have some improvements to do, but we didn't necessarily skip a beat. But the difference is we don't have too many people coming in seeing us for services. Usually they're mailing in their applications or emailing them to us, or we get referrals through energy assistance. And so we're able to, it didn't slow us down too much. But like Renee mentioned earlier, what has hurt us is our outreach. We're not able to just go anywhere and post our flyers and talk to people. It's just that kind of slowed us down. Usually when we're out in the field doing audits or inspections, we canvass that neighborhood, knock on doors, pass out flyers, talk to people. But because of COVID, we're technically not able to do that. We can pass out flyers, but it's the knocking and being in contact without any signed document saying it's okay. So we kind of, the outreach is a little different.
Michael, how do you handle sending contractors into the home during this time of COVID, when masks and hands and social distancing are our best tools right now?
Yeah, so in order for us to restart the weatherization program, we had to come up with a COVID-19 safety protocols and be in accordance with the Washington State COVID-19 guidelines. There was a technical development committee got together, got the guidelines, put it out for the Washington State. Us MDC got ours in the coordinates up. So with us, we have to have the K95 masks on at all times. The client has to be, our social distancing is 10 feet.
Okay.
So as you know, most rooms are less than 10 square feet, 10 by 10. So what we ask is the contractor will contact the client and coordinate with them if they want to be outside of the home or be in a different room where they're at. So they just kind of switch around, play the merry-go-round thing to get the work done. And it's the same thing when the audit is being performed by MDC as well as the inspection. We have sign-offs. Once a client is approved, we send out a permission to proceed letter with all the guidelines to the client, and they sign and authorize that they will follow this. And also, it's okay for us to come into the home. If they're not willing, they can postpone it to a later date.
Okay. So Michael, I'm going to challenge you here. If you can think about how many households you served before COVID, how many households are you serving during COVID? Has there been an increase?
It's the need has increased, but the service has slowed down. Typically, we would complete about 55. We would provide services to 55 clients a year. We're probably going to do 20. Our goal this year is 30. So it's a significant decrease. One is because of some people are still concerned about the COVID. Do I want someone coming into my home? And others is just the time the process takes now, where you have to social distance, you have to try to do a DocuSign. So getting the paperwork back and forth to the client, or the auditor will set his computer down and the client can reach out, his tablet down, the client can sign on it, and then he comes back in and grabs it, make sure everything is signed. So it's the process is taking a little bit longer because of all the protocols.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question from our audience that I love and want to say thank you to Melanie. And this is a question that says, does the extra funds that people get from unemployment count against them? And you can each answer that for your own program. How's that?
For weatherization, no. So any stimulus funds, whether it be a check or extended or increase in pay for unemployment, we do not count that as income.
And Renee, what about energy assistance? You're on mute, my beautiful woman.
I apologize.
It's okay.
So it's the same. Because it is a stimulus, it's not reoccurring. We would not count that as income.
Okay, good. So Renee, now that I have you back here, I have a question for both of you. And that is, within NDC, how much coordination is there between Renee, energy assistance, and Michael, weatherization?
The coordinates between us this past year has we hit some roadblocks, and right now we're working on fixing that. And what I mean by roadblocks is we were in the same office, same building, so the communication, we saw each other, it was, hey, there's this, here's that. Then when the building shut down, everybody's working from home. And then once the program started back up, it was a matter of, we have to train our staff. Each program, we have to train the staff, make sure they're up to par. We're learning new things. And then it came to realize, hey, something we do so easily at the beginning of, in October, when energy assistance starts back up, there were 3 months down the road, hey, we got to get back to doing this. So now we're trying to figure out what is the best practices as we're working from home to relay messages back and forth, and as well as client information, and so that way we can be how we used to be. So like it's just one of those things we just kind of missed on, and now we're trying to improve it.
So Renee, from your point of view, how do your services overlap if they do?
I would say our services, they still overlap, and like Michael said, it is different. The reason being, and what we used to do with outreach, we used to go out physically, both programs, and we would outreach. In fact, our little spiel would be that we provide the short-term service where Weatherization provides more of the long-term service, because they do more of the improve the health of the home. Now with COVID, because we are not doing that physical outreach, our outreach is primarily word of mouth and cold calling and you name it, to drum up business. What we found on my side of the energy assistance is that people, even now, their primary is staying in the home, not so much even heating their home. So that kind of was more in the energy, or heating the home became secondary, as in weatherization. So it became more of a different sales pitch that we needed to do. And we went back to, okay, how can we now sell it? What is our primary program? So that way we can still tie in both the programs. So working similar in sync, but differently.
That would make sense.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add real quick, the weatherization income guidelines are higher than energy assistance. So we would receive our referrals from energy assistance, because once they qualify for them, they automatically qualify for weatherization. So now that's something that we're reteaching ourselves, I guess you could say, because like I say, everything's brand new, and things that just came second nature, we kind of, okay, now we have to learn something new. Oh, now we have to learn about, getting back together and helping each other out.
Exactly. Renee, your staff also provides rental assistance. I said we were going to get to that. We are. For clients who have received energy assistance during a calendar year. What information can you share about these resources, my dear?
Yes, rent assistance is huge. When we started getting rent assistance contracts, it was like we just couldn't keep up with the demand. There was such a demand. In fact, we would spend out our money within weeks or a couple of days. As with COVID, the CARES has brought us a little bit more, and so our wording has been out there, and it basically, these are the main things. With LIHEAP, we have two different contracts. One, you can go through LIHEAP. That means we qualify you for energy assistance, and then we would go in turn receive documents so we can get you qualified for rental as well. Another contract is a little bit less restrictive, and it only allows for rent assistance, where we would just collect one W-9, the lease, the rent ledger, so we know if what's due or if it's past due or currently due. And then as well as our landlord agreement form. So those four primary things, and that's it to be able to provide rent assistance. So when I say those four little things, sometimes it's like, oh, that's it. But it can be a little hard getting those things sometimes, only because there is a governor's moratorium quite right now. We've ran into where sometimes landlords are a little skeptical with signing those forms because of that term in there that we have in the agreement that they will not evict due to non-payment during the moratorium. We've come across some kind of abusive type of acts with landlords and their tenants. And so there's a lot of correlation between us and also the Tacoma Pro Bono with referring folks over that way, because again, we're here to help pay on that rent. It's not a long term, because it is to help pay on a rent that is behind. We have a maximum of $1,000 that we can pay on someone's rent. And so some people might not have paid rent from March of last year. So that could have been maybe what, 20, we've seen somebody owe $19,000. So 19,000 and we're paying on 1,000, even though that is assistance, it's nowhere near enough. So we also refer a lot of people over to Pierce County, who is currently offering a longer, more sustainable rent assistance, and that's offering up to 12 months. So we do a lot of referrals with that, but it's a huge need right now, and I can't stress that enough.
And you brought up something, and Rob, again, thank you for all the great information in the chat that you're putting there for our audience. This whole time we've been talking, my thought bubble has been like, and what do the landlords think? What do the landlords say? Because obviously our eviction moratorium is up March 31st. I mean, we have some bills that we're working on in the legislature, but still, to have a Renee or to have a Michael come to a landlord and say, we'd like to, give a new roof, or we'd like to pay a portion of the power bill. And then this landlord comes back with, but this person owes me $19,000. No, thank you. What do you do in that situation, Renee and Michael?
Because that has come up quite a bit, I like to really say that it behooves both the landlord and the tenant. We work on behalf of the tenant, also the landlord, because this is $1,000 that they probably would not have received even, a year ago. So also with that, I like to provide the landlords other referrals, such as Tacoma Pro Bono, because also they work on this behalf of the tenant as well as behalf of the landlord. So that helps quite a bit. And then also other agency resources. We provide an external resource list, and ultimately 211, because that's the go-to. But we have summarized it and narrowed it down to a few key agencies that might be able to assist during this time as well.
Nice, very nice. Michael, do you want to add anything to that?
For us, some of the stickler with the property owners is that I have a 100-year-old home. I know it's not up to 2015 code. I'm not going to let you in the house. Well, we don't look at code when we go into the house, but any improvement we make, we bring it up to code. So that's where we try to convince the homeowners. And then again, they say, well, this person is a month late on rent. How am I going to, because one of the stipulations is if somebody applies for weatherization, they cannot sell their homes within 1 year. Yes, the owner cannot raise rent within 1 year. But if they already have something in contract, say they apply in January and they already have something in contract saying in June 1st, their rent's going to go up, that contract negates that hours. So from June 1st, 1 year, they can't raise it. So what we also let them know is what we're able to do, it adds value to the property. So yes, the client may owe you $1,000 in rent or 1 month's rent, but once we're done, the value of your home is going to go up. The reduction of the energy bills is what's going to help the person living in there right now. So, there's a kind of, I don't want to say give and take, but we convince them in a way that, just think how much better your home's going to operate.
Absolutely.
So that actually helps.
Yeah, I mean, they have skin in the game on this because their property is being improved.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what we say is the client gets service, but the house gets weatherized.
There you go.
So, and before I forget, one of the the guidelines is we're only allowed to receive weatherization once, but it falls into the client qualifies, but the house gets weatherized. So if somebody's living in a home and they receive weatherization services there, if they end up moving somewhere else and they're still qualified for the program, they can apply. But so that's why we have a database to make sure and verify all the houses, all the residents. But if somebody moves in and qualifies to a house that's been previously weatherized, unfortunately, we won't be able to do that home.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Renee, can Tacoma residents apply for rental assistance programs offered by the city of Tacoma through Pierce County in addition to the rental assistance offered by MDC? Kind of a double whammy.
Yes, yes. And in fact, we try to encourage people to apply because there are funds out there. And so again, it would help for those that are needing additional to go ahead and look at those other agencies such as Pierce County, which is the biggest right now, and some of the other agencies. So yes, yes, yes.
So Renee, Michael has made a great distinction between they are weatherizing the unit and providing service to residents. You are providing a service to residents. So if that residence moves, will they qualify again in a different property for energy assistance?
Thank you. That's awesome. So with LIHEAP, they're allowed one time per season for receiving the utility assistance. As in with rent, it's one time depending on the contract. So if it's LIHEAP, it's one time per the season. Our seasons are now year round, which is a good thing. So it's October through September, and then we start the next season again in October. So anytime within that, let's say 11 months, then that's one time that they're allowed. And again, it depends on the contract that we're pulling from.
Okay, that's good to know that because everybody is in need right now. And this is the season of COVID. So I mean, it's certainly with the moratorium coming to an end. And I know that there are many people who are working on a very gentle off-ramp for this eviction moratorium, but it makes my heart flutter when I think about all of those people who suddenly, by the turn of a calendar, suddenly have a hard time finding a place to live. Michael and Renee, can you both let our audience know what is best to reach out for weatherization or energy assistance? Is it an email? Is it a phone call? What's the quickest way to get a hold of you?
I know with us, it's email and through phone. We set up a weatherization at mdc-hope.org. That'll go directly to me. By phone, the good thing about phone is we can talk to the person live and pre-qualify them. But like I said, they have two options. It's by phone or email.
Okay. And Renee, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes, I would say the same. Right now, we've had a very high volume and response through our Energy Assist desk, and it's Energy Assist desk at mdc-hope.org. That's where people can go ahead and submit their application as well as any documents that's related. And then also ultimately our phone, because that way they can get all of the information that we would give in a live intake and then some, so we can provide resources as well. Because I mentioned, earlier, any means necessary, it really means that mail, take pictures, scan it, upload it, whatever you can do. We'll meet you around the corner. Just kidding. Just to get the documents, that we need so we can get it processed.
Renee, I know you're not kidding because you live this. I would imagine you probably, it's like, I'm going to drive by alma mater. I'm going to stick my hand out, hand me the documents.
We only need one thing.
That's right. Question for you, Renee. To whom does the rental assistance go? Does it go to the tenant or does it go to the property owner?
It goes to the property owner, the manager. Now we have, let's see, just to give you a scenario, we have people that own multiple properties that might not live in the area. So they designate property management companies And we, as long as it's doing business as, we can pay directly to that property management company.
All right. Michael, question for you. Can you give us an example of an amazing weatherization service that saved a ton on future utility expenses, and of course, protecting the identity of the occupant?
Yes. 2 years ago, we went out and performed an audit on the home. The client was a recent widow, and so there was a lot of stuff we could have done. Wall insulation, floor. She was going to receive the whole thing. Brand new furnace. And she had knob and tube wiring, which is an old style wiring, and she had an electrician come in and connect some new stuff for her. In order for the insulator's electrician to verify what actually needed to be done, they had to suck out the insulation. So working with Puget Sound Energy, they allow us to they were going to help pay for the removal of the insulation to verify this. The wiring with, as the contractor was sucking the insulation out, they kept seeing a spark, and then a small fire started.
Oh.
So fortunately, they always keep a fire extinguisher on hand. They put it out. So what it was is that that electrician, the new outlet for the refrigerator, tapped into this old knob and tube wiring, and he didn't do it right. And every time the refrigerator would turn on, it would spark. The one time that it actually caught fire, our crew was out there.
Wow. I think that's all you need to say right there. You basically saved a house and you saved lives. And
yes,
your work now is done. You can retire and you're done.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We talk about saving energy. We talk about making people more comfortable in the home. But the health and safety and the lives we actually save doing what we do goes unnoticed. And a lot of it is because, you know, we're blessed to be able to do what we do.
Yes.
And when you're blessed to do what you do, there's some things that you don't brag about. You just leave it at that.
Michael, you are a tender man. That's what I have to say to that.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. So we want to close out the conversation with 2 questions for tonight. And I'm going to ask the first question, then I'm going to ask Pam to ask the question. And yes, your CEO and your president can ask you a question and put you on the spot here. But for me, we ask when we close out these conversations, where are you finding hope this week? And especially for both of you, because from what you have beautifully described, your days are different. The clients are different. The need is different. And the struggle is real. So where are you finding hope? And Renee, I'll start with you.
Oh boy, that's huge. Finding hope. That's a loaded question. You know, it's a matter of what day it is, what time it is. I think Michael nailed it on the head. I mean, we don't brag about what we do at all. I mean, that's not what we're in it for. I myself can say personally, I've needed assistance. And I know from experience, it's not always easy tapping into that and reaching out for assistance, swallowing your pride and just asking for that. The analogy or example that our team, we give into people that might have thought that, you know, it was for other people, maybe not them, is that just think about it. You know, every time you go to the doctor's office, you need assistance. You know, everyone needs assistance at some point in time in their life. So this is nothing other than, it's just that. And during this time, it's crucial. I mean, energy, weatherization, rent. I mean, there's so many other things that we can list off outside of even our programs that it just, it does make me a little happy when, through all of the crazy, chaotic days we have, that at the end of the day, we're like, wow, you know what? We just served another 1,000. We served another 5, 10,000, this year even doubled that. So looking at that light at the end of the tunnel, and then thinking about, just keep on swimming, keep on using the Nemo analogy, and Dory saying, keep on swimming, don't pay attention, just keep working, keep plumbing ahead. And if you're looking for a thank you, this might not be the business for you, because sometimes the thanks is just knowing that you helped somebody, whether they're staying warm, whether they're being able to breathe clean air, whether they're able to keep a home, that's huge in itself. So
Absolutely.
that's what keeps me going.
And Renee, we talked about people qualify from season to season. Is that the same with rental and utility assistance also?
And with utility and rent, utility is a little different because again, it's out of that light heat, the bulk of that, and cares as well. But it is throughout the season. So it's the one-time assistance through the season. We try to give people a little tricks of the trade. You probably don't want to, if you're applying for utility, maybe not when you're hardly using your bill. If you're not heating your home in the summer, your bill is a little smaller, it would net a smaller result. Some of our people that have returned to us year after year, they know exactly when to apply because it nets a larger result. And with rent, however, that's anytime. I mean, anytime you need it, it is one time per the contract of the season. So that distinction is, again, one time per the contract of the season. That might be a little tricky, but it's definitely, again, if anyone has a question, reach out to us, ask us. We'll be more than happy to provide that service for them.
And Rob has been providing wonderful numbers and websites for all of the greatness that MDC serves. Let's talk about, Michael, where are you finding hope?
I think it starts with tonight. This is the first step of MDC discussions on the programs they provide. And to me, the hope is that someone's going to watch it, and either they don't live in our county, but know someone who does, maybe we'll send them the information. And I just think that, this is the next step, and then continue stepping forward and moving MDC in a good direction as what do we do? Because some clients only, they utilize one service a year, and now they're going to learn that, oh, there's more than this. So I think that's a greater hope. That's a greater feeling. And again, being able to wake up every single day and say, I get to start my day by helping somebody, and end of the day, just feeling in your heart that you have helped somebody. So I think I wouldn't ask for any other job.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Every day, both of you get to wake up and stand in the solution.
Mm-hmm.
By my measurement, that's a life well lived every single day. Pam, you sent a great question, and I want you to ask these two that question.
I'm just sitting here beaming because I am listening to my team talk about the work that they labor in day after day. And in a way, it's a labor of love. And I'm hearing that from how I've heard them articulate what they do. So my question to each of you is, to you, what does it mean for MDC to do this work?
I think it means that MDC cares. MDC sees a problem and is working on a solution. You know, it's a matter of getting, you know, the right people in the right positions. It's the passion. If MDC didn't care, they wouldn't be doing straight talk. If MDC didn't care, they wouldn't started a straight talk. If MDC didn't care, they wouldn't be out in the community facing everything that's going on. Anybody can sit there and say, we care, but MDC's out in the front line. And I think that, you know, some people say, well, your program, well, it's not my program. MDC hired me to run one of their programs. And I think that is one of the most important things as the managers that MDC has knows and we strive to do. We strive to help people, and if somebody is struggling, we communicate. We try to reach out to each other. If somebody calls me and says, hey, I have this issue, what do I do? I can give my best advice. Or, you know what? I know this person over here has gone through the same thing. So we kind of grow and try to help each other as managers, and that way we can be the best for our staff and have our staff learn the trades or somewhat knowledge of what we have. Because if your staff doesn't know the program, it's difficult for them to relay the message of what they actually do. Because I'm a strong believer is that anybody who's in anybody who works in the weatherization program, I'm hoping to pass along the knowledge that I have. I've been in the weatherization for 15 years now. And so I try to slowly teach them little by little more than what they actually do in their position. Because the better they are, the better MDC is able to service their clients.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Renee?
Can I just tell a quick story? I'm gonna wrap it up really quick, I promise. I always say, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. But in this case, I'm happy that I got MDC. It was something where I come from a family of about 26 of us, foster and adopt. And I had the opportunity of working with MDC about 15 years ago with one of my relatives and receiving services. And I thought, oh, it was nice service. I mean, it was, on point, it was prompt, on time, and they were confidential. And I thought that would be a nice place to work, just throwing it out there. Here I am, and, not 15 years in, but 3 years in. And sometimes it can feel like a lot longer because we do so much in the community. MDC has been awesome. I would say because they have the innate ability to empathize with clients. And when I say empathize, meaning that they're trying to meet people where they are. It might not be what they might need at the time, but because we are in this business, we try to anticipate what their next need might be. Therefore, we're offering referral services, whether it's internal MDC or external outside other agencies. I feel blessed to be here because, again, I know firsthand what it feels like to receive or be a recipient and also to give. And to be able to work with an agency that is, or a company that's able to invest that much time in giving back to people, it just speaks volumes. So the passion is really why many of us are here and remain to be here because, again, it's not easy work at all, but it is something that, deep in, it's a feeling of being able to provide those needs that someone might not have known about, and then you're able to provide that and more. So again, it's just a wonderful thing. Absolutely.
Beautifully said, Renee, beautifully. I want to say thank you to Michael and Renee for joining us tonight at Straight Talk. And of course, we encourage everyone to come back next week as Straight Talk recognizes the month of March as Kidney Awareness Month. And as always, you can find information about MDC services at www.mdc-hope.org, as well as links to register for upcoming Straight Talk conversations. And Pam, as always, you need to drive us home and tuck us in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amanda. I am just so proud to have been part of this conversation where my team talked about just a couple of the very important things that MDC does in terms of offering services to folks who need those services. I too know what it's like to be on the receiving end, to be in need, and to have had services provided to me. What many people don't know is that we are a part of a network across the state and across the country of community action agencies. And this is one of the core things that pretty much all of the community action agencies provide. We all provide weatherization, utility, rental assistance. It is part of our core work. It's also one of those things in the retail industry is known as a loss leader. It's one of those things that brings people through our doors, and then we can work with those households, those families to find out what other ways we can serve them. So it is really a critical part of our work. And I just am very proud that we are in a position where we can assist like this. So that's how I just wanted to really close out this conversation tonight and to say to both Renee and Michael, as well as Rob, who's been sitting there, our producer, who's just been posting in all of these lists of resources. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And as always, Amanda, it is always a pleasure to work with you. So to everyone who joined in to us for this version of Straight Talk, thank you. We will be coming back with a part 2 to the series about MDC at your service. And in the meantime, have a great evening and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.